Well, now it's CNN's exclusive reporting on the Biden administration's finalizing plans to send the Patriot missile defense system to Ukraine. It's not clear how many missile launches the US will send, but an announcement could come this week. Ukraine has made almost daily requests for the Patriot system for months now to try and counter Russian missile attacks on civilians and infrastructure. To Washington now, and CNN military analyst General Mark Hertling, the former commanding general, US Army Europe and 7th Army. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
It's great to be with you, John, again.
Okay, as always. Look, we'll get to the operational issues in a moment, but big picture here. CNN's reporting that the Patriot has this long-range, high-altitude capability, can potentially shoot down Russian missiles and aircraft from their intended targets inside Ukraine. You know, if this happens, it seems the battlefield has grown in size again, but is it a done deal at this point? I mean, just how far along the track are we, in your opinion, when it comes to delivering a Patriot battery missile system, defense system, to the Ukrainians?
Well, this is something Ukraine has been asking for a very long time, John. But I want to state from the very beginning, the Patriot defense system within the United States military is what's called a high demand, low density item. That means there's not very many of these batteries, of these kinds of pieces of equipment. There's a lot to them. It's more than just the missile. And the missile alone, by the way, each missile costs between $3 and $5 million. Not the launcher, but the missile. And it has missiles, radars, a generation system, and a command and control system. So this is a big organization that does have long range and high altitude capability of shooting down. It's designed to shoot down large aircraft and cruise missiles. So this is not one of those systems you would use against drones or some of the types of missiles that Russia has been firing, or it shouldn't be that type because you would be wasting a lot of money to do that. But the other thing is it takes a lot of people and it takes a lot of maintenance and supplies to keep these batteries running. It is a very large system. It has a lot of people in it. And the training, truthfully, John, I've seen basic training for those who fire these missiles and the repairmen and the suppliers. It takes not weeks, but months, and in some cases years, to learn this system. Ukraine's been very good. They've adapted some of the systems we've given them, and they've done it very well. This is a very complex, high technology piece of equipment that takes a long time to learn.
Well, to your point, the US Army describes the Patriot as its most advanced air defense system, capable of defeating both high-performance aircraft and tactical ballistic missiles. It has a phased array radar, an engagement control station, computers, power generating equipment, up to 8 launchers, each of which holds 4 ready-to-fire missiles. That's from the website there. And as you say, the Ukrainians have been remarkably adept at learning, but this is a whole different beast altogether. And CNN is reporting that training could actually take place at a US base somewhere in Germany. So in terms of escalation from the view of Moscow, how would they see that?
Well, they would see it as escalation, but the question that I think a lot of people would respond with is, so what? You know, they have been escalating this war, killing civilians, conducting illegal activities, striking infrastructure targets, causing the civilian population of Ukraine great pain. So it is only an escalation to deal with the kinds of things that Russia has been doing. So they may see it as an escalatory response by the United States and other NATO countries to provide this kind of equipment. But it is what Ukraine demands because they want to protect their citizens from an illegal war.
And you've been very quick to highlight the fact that, you know, it's not just the complexity of the Patriot system, but also the high number of personnel needed to keep it in operation. For context, this is the photo of Delta Battery, the 5th Battalion, 7th Air Defense Artillery, posing for a photo on a Command Patriot launching station in Poland just last August. You know, usually about 90 soldiers are assigned to a battery, but only 3 are actually needed for combat purposes. What are the chances, if this goes ahead, some of those 90 or so support personnel will be US troops?
Yeah, I can't speak to that truthfully, because the president and the Secretary of Defense have both said there will be no US soldiers on the ground inside of Ukraine. That's the problematic piece of this. It must be Ukrainian soldiers that are trained in this unless we change our policy, unless the president says, no, I'm going to send military personnel in. A lot of people on the internet are saying, well, why don't we just send contractors? Well, contractors are the same kind of problematic things. They're normally American contractors because that's who's developed the system. So you still have Americans on the ground inside of a war between Russia and Ukraine. So that is problematic. I don't foresee that policy changing by the president. So it is a requirement to train Ukrainian soldiers and their supporters on these very complex pieces of equipment. And as you said before, you know, there are rumors that it may be trained in Germany. The training base in Germany is one that I commanded, Grafenwehr. It's in southern Bavaria. They don't even have the capability to launch Patriot missiles at that location because the ranges are too small. They could certainly do simulation training and they could learn the pieces of equipment, but you would not get any live launches of the equipment down there. It would all be in simulations if they decide to do it at Grafenwehr.
Yeah, there's obviously, it seems there's a lot to go before this becomes reality. So good to see you, General Hertling. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, John. Thanks.
Well, a staff inspection of troop readiness in Belarus has sparked concerns that Russia's longtime ally may be looking to open a second front in Ukraine. Similar moves were noted earlier this year, just before Russia invaded Ukraine. But as CNN's Will Ripley reports, this time the Ukrainians are ready.
We've just arrived at a Ukrainian military forward operating base near the Belarusian border. Here they're going to show us the fortifications that they put in place to protect against a potential Russian ground invasion.
A few miles away, in neighboring Belarus, an ominous show of force. Russian and Belarusian troops holding joint combat drills, like they did earlier this year, just before the invasion.
Are you concerned about the troop buildup on the Belarusian border?
We have to be concerned because we have a not friendly neighbor, but we have 2,500 kilometers not friendly borders. Belarus, Russia, and temporarily occupied territories. We have to be ready here.
Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov tells CNN Ukraine is preparing in case the Russians invade from Belarus again. He says they urgently need more weapons, anti-tank systems, more advanced missile defense. We are not afraid of them, says the captain, Dmitry. We don't expect them to come here, but if they do, we'll be ready. These soldiers are constantly rehearsing, ready at a moment's notice.
Do you think the Russians are going to try to come again?
Let them try, says Igor. Before the war, he repaired sewing machines. Now, he drives this.
How quickly can you get guys to the trenches if you need to?
It'll be very fast, he says. They started building these trenches in early April, reinforcing them ever since, getting ready for the Russians. They overpowered Ukrainian defenses at the start of the war. 6 weeks and thousands of deaths nationwide later, soldiers from this battalion helped force them out.
Was there ever a point where it was overwhelming, where you thought, we can't do this, we can't fight them off?
I never thought like that, says Serhiy, because I know there's no way back. We have families at home. We have children.
He says that 2,500 Russian vehicles actually pass right down this road.
Now, we're driving down the same road to a bridge near the border, well within Russian artillery range.
When the Russians invaded more than 9 months ago, they just drove down this road and right over this bridge. But now, the bridge has been rigged with explosives, and these swamplands, which are frozen over, are full of mines.
When the first convoy of an estimated 30,000 Russians came in February, the Ukrainians were unprepared and outnumbered 6-1. Now, like soldiers from a century ago, they hunker down in the trenches, waiting for whatever comes down the road. Will Ripley, CNN, near the Ukrainian-Belarusian border.